The first point I want to make this morning is in Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 to 40. You cannot choose how you serve God. There is a way to serve God. You cannot choose how you love God. There is a way to love Him. You can not choose how you serve God. There is a way to serve God. A gentleman came and asked Jesus. In fact, Taylor tells us that he was an expert in the law. So which is the first? Which is the best? Which? How does the commandment, what does it say? And Jesus said, thou shalt love the Lord thy God. Can we read this verse together? And Jesus answered, said unto him, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. The Mark interpretation, the same verse of this, Mark now added your strength. Your worship and your love for God is an all or none service. Can we say it together? All or none service. Together? All or none service. Can we pause for a moment? If you look at this verse, there is one particular word that is repeated over and over. Is there anyone that can point that out? With all. With all. So you cannot choose how you serve God. How you serve God is there. Is what? All. Is with all your what? Heart. Is with all your what? Mind. It is with all your what? Soul. Mark says with all your strength, your emotion, you have to, your emotion has to be in it. And it is not half-hearted emotion. It is what? All. All. Think about it for a moment. How are you walking with God? Is it one leg there and one leg out? How are you walking with God? Okay, in the morning and then in the evening, something else. How is your walk with God? How is your commitment with God? How is your love walk? Is it only on Sunday and then the rest of the 6 days is whatever I want? How is your love walk with God? What in your life now has taken preeminence over God? Has taken preeminence over God. For you to walk in love, this is your first step. Jesus says it has to start with God first. And that service has to be complete and total. If you read this place, it is all or none. You can't, that's why one of the verses says, you cannot put your hands in the plow and look back. You are not fit for the kingdom. You are not fit. The person is unfit because your walk with God has to be wholehearted experience. Let me make it practical for you. You know, some people say when they got married, they became busy and they don't have time for God. Okay. You see, they have violated Matthew chapter 22, verse 37. They say, I got into this business and I haven't got time to be in church. See, they have compartmentalized their service of God, thinking there is something else they need to do away from God. Whereas whatever it is they need to do should have been in God. Because when you put God first, then every other thing comes into being. Every other thing revolves around your walk with God. Why is that so? Because it is choice. It is choice, yes? Love is what? Choice. Let me give you an example. No matter how busy I was when I was courting my wife, I still prioritize my time for her. One time, I needed to see her. I traveled all the way from Greensby in the middle of the night, 1 a.m., just to come see her face in Sheffield and drive back. That is a choice. That is a commitment. That is, I'm going to do this, and I will do it. So, when we say we don't have time to pray, it's a question of priority. When we say we don't have time to come to church, it's a priority. Because there is something else is happening at that time, isn't it? There is something else we put over what we think is important. But here, it says all. So, it involves a decision to make a complete and total commitment to God. Our walk in love starts with God, our commitment to God. Our love walk starts with commitment. Matthew chapter 22, verse 37. So, we receive God first, and then accept God's love. As imperfect as we are, we have to accept his love. And then we accept oneself. Follow it. We accept oneself. That's why you go to 38. 38 now says, where are we? Yes. This is the first and the great commandment, which is God first. The second, which is 39, is like unto it. Thou shalt do what? Let's read together. Thou shalt love thy neighbor. Which one comes first? Yes. Yeah. So let's read it again. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Which one comes first? Yes. Yourself comes first. Because that will not decide how. So, the love cycle goes this way. You accept God's love, receive God's love, and accept it. And then accept yourself. Because you have to love yourself first. What you don't have, you cannot give. Yes? You give what you have. You know, so many people are struggling today because they have not even forgiven themselves. They are living in guilt. Let me repeat this again. Let me say it again. If you are living in guilt, it is not the will of God for you. It is the enemy that is trying to rob you of joy and happiness. So it is time to accept yourself. Because when you accept yourself, you are able to show love. You are able to show love. Do you know that God is interested in how we treat people? That is the whole point of walking in love, because God is interested in how we treat people. So we all are very clear on the love cycle. So you receive God's love first. When you receive it, you accept it as imperfect as we are. And then we accept ourselves. And then we show love. Because we are to love as us as ourselves. No, okay. Yes, you can put it that way, but the love of your neighbor flows from the love of self. Is when you have accepted yourself first, that love flows from you to your neighbor. But in practicing love, we have to put, that's what we're going to go to. You have to put the first, we have to put our neighbor first. But we need to accept ourselves. But in practicing love, because when you now begin to put others first, allowing that love to flow to them first, we now begin to actually experience what God wants us to do. Because being rude is a form of selfishness. You are just always thinking about yourself. But when yourself is dead, it's easy to be kind. It's easy to be patient. It is the holding of self. I. That's why people are proud. When people are proud, they are easily angered, they are impatient, all the things that are going on. But when we die to self, which is what we're going to be learning about love, because love prefers the neighbor first, looks at the need of the people beside you first, not thinking inwardly, you think outwardly. Amen. Thank you for that, John. Yes, God is interested in how we treat people. Love will cost you something. Love will always cost you something. And love is an expression. Yes, it can come in words. Even the words are expressions. Look at 1 John chapter 4, verse 20 and 21, which is where we've been reading. You know that God is really interested in how we treat people. Look at what he says there. 1 John chapter 4, verse 20 and 21. We'll see it in King James first. 1 John chapter 4, verse 20 to 21. If a man say, I love God, he says it, yes, and hate his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he can see, whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen? You see, is an expression, is what you do. God is interested in our relationship with others and to others. Because our relationship with others is an expression of God's love. If Gabriel is left alone to grow by himself, he wouldn't know what God looks like. But he will see God through me. It is my life is an expression of what God is. That is why Jesus said in John chapter 13, 34 and 35. John 13, 34 and 35. By this shall men know. How? By this shall men know that you are my disciples when you love. It is through love that people can know that we are God's people. How to love? How do we love? You can see it there. A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another. How? As I have loved you. As I have loved you. Unconditional. Unconditional. It's challenging. It's difficult. If you're in our Bible study, you will hear when I said, it is difficult to understand the love of God. All we can do is learn from it, practice it, believe it, learn from it, practice it, and then we can begin to experience it. We expect other people to make us happy before we can be happy. And yet, it is our responsibility to reach out unto others in love. That's why our love has to go first. Not expecting people to love us, because that's what Jesus did. Jesus loved us, remember, when we were unlovable, when we were weak. Is really, really important. And for us to do this, the flesh has to die. For us to do this, our want, the flesh, what the flesh wants, has to die. If you look at Matthew chapter 5, verse 42 to 44, Matthew chapter 5, verse 42 to 44, we are still learning. It has to be unconditional. Jesus loved us when we were weak. Matthew 5, verse 42 and 44. Jesus loved us when we were weak. So he expects us to be unconditional. 42 to 44. 42 to 44. Look at this. It's really important. He said, give to him that asketh thee, and from him that will borrow of thee, turn not away. Look at 43. 43. Ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love your neighbor and hate your enemy. That was what it was. Those who cannot love you back, hate them. Because they hate you, you hate them. No, but this is the new commandment I have given you. Jesus talking. That's why he says in 44. He said, love your enemies. He said, do good. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that despitefully use you and hate you. Just touch the arrow. Yes. And pray for them that despitefully use you. This is because you may not get it back. You may not get the goodness back, but still do good to them. Unconditional. Unconditional. We love by giving up what we want for others. We give up what we want for others. Because our joy and happiness is from God. So we don't wait for people to make us happy. Because the joy of the Lord is what? Our strength. So our happiness do not come from people. Our happiness comes from God. So we are able to share what is on the inside of us. So we're not waiting for people to treat us well before we can treat them well. Because we know that our source is from God. And we know that walking in love is because of God. God is the reason why we walk in love. Because what? We are following his example from our text, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 and 2. Our text says, be followers of God as their children. So whatever we do, we are doing it to please him. So what does love look like? I'm going to summarize there now. What does love look like? If love is a way of living, a way, what does it look like? Because we see in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 31. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 31. Now show I you the more excellent way. Here, love is called a more excellent way. He said there, covet earnestly, best gift. But now, I am going to show you the more excellent way. The more excellent way. He now goes into 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and began to show the more excellent way. So, what does love look like? How are we able to identify it? I love you. What does it look like? So, love is a set of behaviors. Can we say it together? Love is a set of behavior. It's a way. It's a set of behavior. And it's something that we can choose, something we can walk in by choice, because it's behavioral. And that we can see in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 to 8. Love is a set of behavior, and we can see it in how we treat people. That is a very, very important line there. Love is a set of behaviors that can be seen in how we treat people. Probably somebody can make a research and come and watch Gabriel and his wife. How Gabriel treats his wife and how his wife treats him. And say, oh, is there love in this? Gabriel's interaction with Christine for over 24 hours. Can we trace love? Because if love is a set of behavior and we can identify it in the way we interact with people, in the way we treat people, so we can see it. It's something that you can see. It's something that you can see, this is an act of love. We can examine different behaviors and then see love and say, this is an act of love. And when John sees it, he say, that is love. And when Yvonne sees it, he will say, that is love. So it's not something that is shady. It's not shady. Everyone will see. An act of kindness is an act of kindness. It cannot be. I'm trying to make an inference here. When someone is patient, anybody who sees it will say, oh, this is it. You can't miss it. You cannot miss it. An act of patience can be seen. You're expecting the person to flare up. We're all standing there and he didn't say anything. And then you go off and you are being asked, what happened? He said, oh, he was shouting at him. What did he do? He didn't say anything. Yes? You were there when it happened. You go home and someone asks you, what really happened? You say, oh, A was shouting at B. And the person asks you, so what did the B do? He said he didn't do anything. You mean he didn't do anything? He said yes. You mean after 30 minutes he didn't do anything? He said yes. And then it goes on. Somebody asks you, oh, we saw an incident that happened in church that A was screaming and shouting at B. So what did B do? We are all shocked. He didn't do anything. After 30 minutes, he did not do anything. The point I'm making is that behavior is consistent in everyone's eyes. Everyone will report the same thing. What did he do? He did not do anything. What did he say? He did not say anything. And there was a video clip. Everyone in the court is looking at the video clip. His mouth did not move. So there's no one that can say he said something because he did not do what? He did not say anything. I'm just using that as a scenario to paint that the behavior of love can be interpreted by everyone that understands what love is. Amen. So, let's go to that set of behavior and go through it. How I wish we have. Let's go to Amplified version. I can do with that Amplified version that says, love endures with patience. And serenity. Love endures long and is patient. That is the first characteristics of love. You see, it's a behavior. Love endures long and is patient. The question is this: how would you behave when I make a mistake? We we came to the shop last weekend, the weekend that passed. And when I went into the shop, my wife saw an update in my car and decided to update. We've never tried it before. And as soon as she pressed the update, the car went dead. I always like to leave the car on whenever I'm in the car. My wife doesn't really mind. But I always like to leave it on so that when I come back to the car is warm. So when I came back to the car, he said, why was the car off? My son answered, the car just went off. I kept quiet. And I said, why did the car go off? He said, I pressed the update. I've been driving that car for a few months now. I see the update, because I'm away from the house. So I've not really seen the update in the house. So we have never experienced such a thing. The car went off for 30 minutes. We were just inside the car. No movement, press, nothing. Nothing was responding in the car. So I remember my wife was asking me a question. I didn't say anything. I didn't say one word, which is, to me, was extraordinary because I would have said, why did you do this? It's my car. I always try to avoid this update. Why did you choose update today? And now we are trapped here. I didn't say one word. Not even one word. For that whole 30 minutes, we were waiting. I said, okay, try this, try this, try this. And at that moment, that was what I was practicing. I said, no, I'm not going to say anything because if I say something now, I'm going to lead myself into, questioning why did he do it? And by the time you know it, an argument ensues. But love suffers long and is patient. And for me, that was an experience. I just kept quiet until after 30 minutes. Next thing, the light came on. He has finished updating and then pressed power and the car came on and we drove home. And that conversation went on that, maybe something is going on in your mind. I said, no, there was nothing going on in my mind. I just wanted to keep quiet and make sure that this situation does not blow up into anything. It's just a simple situation. And we waited for 30 minutes. We didn't plan, and then we got home. But imagine if I had behaved the way I would have behaved before, which other people will say, well, I'm just asking questions. I'm just trying to verify. Why did you do that? But that is going to lead to an argument, and it won't help that environment with the children in the car. You see, where patient can help to make sure that the environment is contained. What will you do? How will you behave when I make a mistake? Will you show me patience? When I make a mistake, will you show an understanding? Would you go with me through that process of my mistake? Love endures long. It puts up with things. It suffers long. Why? Because love always wins. Love is kind and thoughtful. Love is not jealous or envious. Love does not brag and is not proud or arrogant. You see, these are what love looks like. The behaviors of love, the character of love. It is not rude, like Grandpa John told us earlier. It is not self-seeking. It puts others first. Not overly sensitive or easily angered. You see that? Because patience will deal with all this. If patience comes first, all this will be sorted. It does not take into account wrong. It does not think of evil. It does not keep account of wrong. That is love. It does not rejoice at injustice, but rejoices with the truth. When truth and right prevail. Finally, because love is a set of behavior, is a choice we must make every day. Let's read this, Colossians chapter 3, verse 12 to 14. Love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. Love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. Colossians chapter 3, verse 12 to 14, King James. Look at this while we summarize. As put on, therefore, as elect of God, holy and beloved. See what we need to put on. Bowers of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering. Let's go. 13. Forbearing one another, forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave, so also do ye. Look at verse 14, finally. And above all this, put on, wear it. You woke up in the morning, let's practice this, like Grandpa John. You woke up in the morning, you say, this morning, okay, I need kindness. You put on kindness. I need long suffering. You put it on. I need not to be rude today. You put it on. You wear the jacket of love as you set off every morning. I pray that the Lord will help us